Welcome to the Monday morning show. That's Ryan G. Hensley. I'm Grant L. Cohn. Title of the show is Why the Niners Fan Base is Divided. I think it's interesting. Like, the Niners have been to 3 of the last 4 NFC Championship games. It's June 12th. I mean, there's no football for 3 months. There's no practice for a month and a half. But fans are, like, mad at each other. Niner fans.
Yeah.
Niner fan on Niner fan Twitter violence daily.
Yeah.
Over these quarterbacks and the direction of the team. It's very interesting just how divided the fan base is. We're going to get there, but we're not. And we're going to divide it ourselves because we are definitely part of the reason. Guilty, divisive. But let's start with some things that everyone can agree on. Non-quarterback wise, Niners have some really good weapons on offense. They might have the best weapons of any team in the league, and they run the ball a lot. But if 2 players on this team both eclipse 1,000 yards this season, who do you think they'll be?
Well, if I'm going to go under the assumption it's Brock Purdy as quarterback, I think I would go with. Well, if I'm making that assumption,
how many games is he playing? Are we getting all quarterbacks, 1 quarterback, 3? How many quarterbacks going to play this year? I don't know. I'm just assuming they're all going to play at some point.
It's going to be Brandon Allen. If it's Brandon Allen, if
we're going to get a little Sam Darnold at some point, whether we want it or not.
If it's Brock Purdy, 17 games, I'm going to say Kittle and BA. I think those are the 2 guys I can see going for 1,000. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. BA, to me, is the best wide receiver on the 49ers.
Well, I don't disagree with you there.
Got over 1,000 yards last season. So I think if anybody, it would be him. And then we saw the relationship that Brock built with George Kittle. So I can see George Kittle also going over 1,000 yards. If George Kittle – on that run, right? The end, when George Kittle and Brock Purdy got hot, what was it, the last 6 games?
Yeah, I'm trying to look that up. Like, what kind of yards per game was he putting up? Let me see.
Right.
Kittle. Let me get you. Okay, so last 5 games, he had 28, 93, 120, 23, 29, 37, 95, 32. He has a lot of games where he has 20 to 30 yards. I swear, man. A lot. Okay. He had a bunch of touchdowns down the stretch. He had 2, 1, 2, bunch of touchdowns. Let me just say, I feel like the Niners are trying to take a little bit off of his plate. I think they want him to finish the seasons a little bit stronger. I think that's a reason why they drafted 2 tight ends this year. They've been meaning to take a little bit off his plate for years and been unsuccessful. He's almost 30. They need to pace his season out. It's getting longer. He's played a lot, and they need him playing his best at the end of the season. So I'm not saying he's going to take a step back. I just don't. Has he had 1,000 yards? I don't think he's had 1,000-yard season since 2019.
Best season with.
Yeah. So look. So you could be right. I'm going with Ayuk too.
Okay.
He hasn't missed a game since his rookie year. All of his teammates say he's going to be the breakout player this year. I feel like Kyle is coming into the year anticipating Ayuk being his guy.
Yeah.
In the passing game. So there's that. My question is, if I'm not going with Kittle, am I going to go with McCaffrey or Debo?
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one because I feel like the answer to that question is who's going to play more games.
Right.
And I don't know. Last year, McCaffrey didn't get hurt. That doesn't mean, and Debo did. It could be opposite this year, right? I mean, who the hell knows? It's running backs.
Yeah.
Quasi running backs. So,
frankly,
I want to go with Debo because the Niners get their running backs hurt. And they were using McCaffrey too much last year. And I can't ignore that. And I feel like picking him to play 17 games this year would be uncharacteristically fanboyish of me. And I'm not a fanboy. So I have to just acknowledge the fact that I really don't expect McCaffrey to play the whole season at no fault of his own. Debo.
I could see Debo getting a total of 1,000 yards between rushing and receiving. But just receiving, I don't know. That's the thing that with the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan's offense, it's not a lot of passing yards typically. So having 2 is tough. Having 3 is like, I saw
last year they barely had 1. Ayuk had 1,015 yards. Kittle was number 2 at 765. Debo at 632. Now that was in 13 games. Now Kittle averaged 51 yards through the air per game. Debo 48.
And he was very bad in the beginning. So it's Kittle and BA, man. It's the only answer. It's the right answer. There's no other answers. No.
I like when you put it that way. No, with Kittle, that's the thing though. He misses games too. I mean, he missed 2. Debo missed 4. McCaffrey missed none. It's a tough one. I'm going to put my chips down on Debo, and I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it at all.
Well, I did like Debo's words, so maybe it comes to fruition. It's
what I don't like about Debo though? His hand-eye coordination. He needs to stop dropping the ball. The Niners, not just Debo, Ayuk too, and Jennings. All three of the Niners' top 3 wide receivers drop the ball more than they should. Debo and Jennings is outrageous. Like, they're above 10%. Ayuk's at like 6-7%. They all should be below 5. Come on, guys. You guys are elite. What are you doing? They need to. I don't know if it's them or it's the coaching or whatever, but like with Brock Purdy throwing that little pillow around the field, you should catch the ball.
It seems like with Debo, it's not his hands as much as his focus, right? He might be thinking about what he's going to do next before he catches. He has to see the ball all the way in.
Well, it's never the hands. I want to make that clear. I don't like when people say he has good or bad hands, like, or soft hands. You telling me this dude goes to bed every night just rubbing his hands with lotion, and that's why he catches passes better than the other dude? Like, it has nothing to do with how soft they are, how big they are. It's your hand-eye coordination. It's how you track the ball in the air. Not everyone tracks the ball the same or as well. Yeah. Some people aren't good at it. Sometimes you need to get your eyes checked. It's really more your eyes than your hands.
Or your mind, right? Like if you're thinking about the next move you're going to make, right? You got to run through 18 people. Maybe you're thinking about that.
What did Madden say? What did Madden say when we were kids? Got to catch the ball before you run.
You got to catch the ball.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Catch the ball first.
Yeah. I used to say that all the time.
All the time.
Here, I want to ask you this question.
Sure.
Besides Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and CMC and all those guys, let's say like Jawan Jennings, Ray McCloud, Ronnie Bell, Danny Gray. Which one of those guys has the most yards? And Jawan Jennings kind of easy answer, but I don't know if.
Well, hold on. I want to look at Ray for a second because I feel like he's completely underused. He got 25 targets last year. He averaged 17 yards per catch. How many drops did he have? Drops. He had 2 drops. What is with the Niners wide receivers and dropping passes, man? All of them. So he had 8% drop rate. Jennings, I guess they like Jennings. Jennings has a role. McLeod should have a role, but as long as Debo's on the team, he's like Debo's backup essentially on the offense. So I'm gonna have to go with Jennings.
What are they gonna do with Ronnie Bell and Danny Gray? Are they gonna really have a role this year at all?
I'm not sure Danny Gray's gonna make the team, man. That's not for certain. That's not for show. It's not for certain. It's certainly not for show. No, man, this dude is a body catcher. His best play at minicamp was beating Diamador Lenore off the line at the goal line and dropping a pass that would have been a touchdown. That was his best play.
Is it for sure? Are Jawan Jennings or Ray 100% safe, in your opinion?
Yes. I would say so. Yes, that's the number 3, number 4 wide receiver. Who's number 5, though? It could be Danny Gray. It could be Tay Martin. It could be someone we don't even think about. It could be Chris Conley.
Bell.
There's a competition right now, and Danny Gray has not separated himself whatsoever. It could be Tay Martin.
It'd be crazy. I mean, it feels like Danny Gray and Bell. I mean, wouldn't they have to make the team? Do you think they would get cut?
Yeah.
Wow.
Trey Sermon did. Trey Sermon got waived. Absolutely, man. I mean, if you're not good and they decide it, it's over for you. They're not that sentimental, except unless you're a quarterback and they don't know what to do with you. But at wide receiver, I think they'll cut you. So Ronnie Bell could make the team over Danny Gray. Tay Martin could make the team over Danny Gray. Both of those guys have really strong hands, and Gray does not. Gray's a body catcher.
Yeah. How did Danny Gray look, or Tay Martin? How did Tay Martin look?
He made a diving catch on a kind of errant throw from Sam Darnold. It was nice. It was like Sam Darnold ran out of the pocket to the right, play extended. Tay Martin is on the same page with him, moves with him, gets the target, lays out. Like, it's nice. Now he's not a fast runner like Danny Gray, but he can catch the ball. This team has a dearth. Doesn't have enough guys who can just catch the ball. That's what Garcon could do.
Yeah.
Bolden, it's an important skill set.
Jawan Jennings probably gone after this year. Who takes his place?
I think that's why they drafted Ronnie Bell. He's a slot receiver. Different build, but a slot receiver. I think they're hoping it's Bell, but it could be Tay Martin.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Tay Martin. Go look at his highlights from college. He was in the practice squad last year. He's pretty good.
And big body, long guy, right? Yeah.
Little Kendrick Bourne-esque.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And he's actually not, he's pretty fast for his size, right?
He's faster than Jennings.
Yeah.
I think he's like high 4.5.
Jennings is the slowest receiver on the team. Did you know that? Out of 90-man roster, Jennings is the slowest guy on the team. He's like a 4.7.
He's slower than a lot of tight ends in the league. He runs a 4.7 something.
Yeah.
And essentially the way they use him in the pass game is he runs the same routes that Jordan Reed ran on the 49ers on third down. Like line up in the slot and run like an in-breaking route or an out-breaking route, essentially. Run 8 yards and yeah.
It's crazy. He's the slowest receiver on the team. drops passes constantly in practice, but in game day, he makes it the plays, you know?
Yeah, but he also drops a lot of passes too. Like his drop rate in his career is like 12%.
That's
That's not okay. He needs to.
why I'm not
He's
sure.
not. They're not going to
I'm not
re-sign him
sure.
if he keeps doing that.
I'm not as confident as you when it comes to Juwan Jennings
Yeah,
being on the team.
It's true. Hey, fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels like Kyle loves him.
Yeah.
No matter what, Kyle loves him.
He does get like in bed, supposed
A lot
to
of praise.
certain players, and it's just
Kyle trusts him.
They can do
Kyle
no
trusts
wrong.
Jennings, but Kyle will call Jennings' number in critical situations, but not Ayuk. Go figure.
Yeah.
When Ayuk is better at literally everything than Jennings. There's not one thing. Maybe blocking. Blocking. Jennings is better, but like catching the ball, getting open, like everything. You got to go to. But when does Kyle really call Ayuk's number in a critical situation ever?
It's a good point. Too many targets for Debo last season in those situations as well. I mean, it should be Kittle.
You can't trust Debo to get open. You can't trust him to catch the ball, but afterward, you can trust him to make plays. So, yeah, man, if it's third down, got to have it. I'm not going to him. Pass the sticks. Hell no. I'll hand it to him.
Any chance 49ers get 3,000-yard receivers? Any chance?
I don't think they pass enough.
Yeah.
I think they're more likely to have none than two. They barely got one last year. You catch with your eyes. Thank you. All day, every day, Kim. Mui says, I remember when Lance broke his ankle, I was in a bar and this guy yelled, Jimmy G, baby. I mean, immediately after. This guy was no doubt racist, though. That's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. Did you shoot him a look? Did everyone look at him like, hey, jerk? Ryan, have you and Larry spoken?
No. Nope. He has my number. I'm sure he'll call me at some point.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to get squashed eventually. That's my, if I had to gamble on it, but I'm not a big gambler. Joseph Stockbridge says, I can agree. At my job, the employees in my department are mostly Niner fans. With the divide, I say play Lance, though. Yeah, it's a strange divide. It's a civil war of Niner fans. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get there yet. Let's talk about running backs. Christian McCaffrey, best running back the Niners have had in a long time. I really like watching him play. He's not quite the runner that like Frank Gore was or Raheem Mostert was, but the overall impact on the offense, it's more than your typical running back. He's such a weapon. Anyway, okay. Not about Christian McCaffrey. You need to have a good number 2 running back to keep Christian McCaffrey healthy. He's only 200 pounds. And Elijah Mitchell, man, he's so good. He's like a starting running back, but he can't stay healthy. And he's opening the door for Jordan Mason to take his spot. Who do you think will have more carries this year, Mason or Mitchell?
I'm going to go with more carries, more yards for Mason simply because of Elijah Mitchell has been unable to stay on the field for long periods of time. Just a health thing. I think they're both great. They're a little different. Mitchell runs really hard, but he doesn't really have the body behind him to take that kind of punishment and also to be as effective running that hard. Like running hard is great. But when you're built like Mason and you run hard, it's a different effect on defense.
Correct.
Everything I saw from Mason was fantastic, man. And so far he's been more durable than Mitchell. I would love to see a full season from Elijah Mitchell. I just don't think that's really realistic based on the history. And so I'm going to go with Mason, more carries, more yards.
Yeah, last year Mitchell had 45 carries. Mason had 43. Mitchell averaged 6.2 yards per carry. Mason averaged 6. But when Mitchell was on the field or healthy, they gave him 9 carries a game. Kyle loves him. Yeah. But at a certain point, if you're hurt all the time and you missed most of the offseason, back-to-back off seasons, and you got this Jordan Mason guy who is durable and consistent and relentless, and now he's in his second year and he's improving. At a certain point, I mean, the decision makes itself. Yeah. Elijah, we love you, man. But your offseason wasn't great by no fault of your own, or I don't know. And this guy is a freaking machine. So we got to go with him. He's in tip-top shape. You're not. He's durable. You're not. We love you, man. And we might need you at some point because running backs get hurt all the time. But he earned I think he's in the process of earning the number 2 running back spot. Mitchell would have to come back, have a full training camp, and miss no time. If he does that, yeah, you've been in the league longer. You've proven more. You're the number 2 running back. But you miss another couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. You miss some preseason games. I think it's fair for the Niners to go with the number 2 guy who's fully prepared, in great shape. And healthy.
I expect Mitchell to be the number 2 guy if he's healthy. I think you're right. Kyle Shanahan just loves him, but that's the question. And
Right.
I was going to ask you, they don't have to tell you what's going on with players' injuries right now in the offseason, right? So when Mitchell was sitting there out of it during OTAs and minicamp, they didn't tell you guys anything.
I asked Kyle, like, is he injured? And he said, yeah, he's got something. But he won't say what, because he doesn't have to. That's how football teams are. They say what they have to say. Fair enough.
And that must be continuation from last year, unless he got
don't know
hurt playing hoop.
Could have been something week 1 of OTAs, man. He could have pulled his hamstring week 1 of OTAs.
Yeah, man. So
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell's really good, man. So is Mason. 49ers got the best running back room in the NFL to me. Like CMC, Mitchell, Mason, Juszczyk, great. But like Mitchell, it just can't stay healthy.
If Mitchell's healthy. But if you remember, Mitchell missed most of last offseason too. He was coming off a knee surgery. He missed most of OTAs. He came back. I think he got hurt again in training camp. And they finally got him healthy for week 1, and then he got hurt in his 6th carry. He wasn't really in football shape. Like he never really came together for him. Meanwhile, Jordan Mason was just there every day. So that happens again. I'm putting my money on Mason to get more carries and just take his spot.
Do you think TDP makes this roster 4th QB or running back 4, RB4?
To be determined. I think it's trending that direction. Ty, if you're watching it. I haven't seen Kalen Laburn make a play yet in 11 on 11s. Like, it seems to me what teams do, if an undrafted free agent is making plays and, flashing promise in practice, then they'll put him on the 53-man roster because they know it's undeniable and they probably can't sneak him on the practice squad. He's going to show out in the preseason, like Jordan Mason did.
Yeah.
But if it's their secret and they can sneak him on the practice squad, they will, even if they like him. So with Laburn, like, until he really shows something, he's a practice squad guy. But if he shows out in the preseason, then it's a different story. So we'll see. And with running backs, it's so much about the preseason, right? It's so much about
the preseason. It has to be in games with pads. Yeah. You can't really tell. Yeah.
But we could see it early with Mason last year in practice, just the fact that there was no hesitation. He was always fighting daylight. He ran hard. And, man, he was in good shape. You could see it. As opposed to Mitchell, who was rehabbing, or Ty Davis Price, who was running into offensive linemen constantly, getting no yards, stopping his feet, like where Mason doesn't stop his feet. And you're thinking, that's probably going to translate to the games, and then it did. So,
I mean, there's a situation, knock on wood, where, CMC and Elijah Mitchell both have a long history of being injured. And so there's a situation where Mason is your RB1 for a couple games during this season. So I
think you could win. I think you could win in that situation. He's not the kind of guy who could run the ball 20 times if you wanted him to. And again, people say, well, he's just a closer because when he's on the field, it really telegraphs that you're running because, I don't know about that. First of all, he's a better receiver from what I see than Mitchell. He has better hand-eye coordination and a better route runner than Mitchell. And in terms of blocking, how often do the Niners ever ask their tailbacks to block?
Yeah.
Those guys run routes. The guys who stay in and block, if they're in that situation, 3rd and 9, it's usually Kittle or Juszczyk. So I just don't see what the big freaking deal is.
It's actually pretty remarkable that he's averaging 6 yards per carry because he was the closer, and most of the time they knew he was running, and he's
8
still
in the box, 9 in the box, 4 minutes left, up 2 touchdowns. We're running.
I bet you at least 40-50% of his runs were in that situation. So. I mean, that speaks highly.
Tremendous.
Of Mason.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey, the starter on this team, the best running back this team's had in a long time, literally calls Jordan Mason Mariano Rivera, as in not just the closer on this team, like the best closer in the league, one of the best closers ever. Freaking undrafted rookie Jordan Mason. Now he's in his 2nd year, and I'm telling you, you guys haven't seen Jordan Mason yet, but remember what he looked like last year. Now think 5 pounds less. 5 pounds less. Trimmer, more explosive.
He should be your third and goal, third and short. He should be your running
goal
back.
line.
Goal line, running back.
Goal line.
Every time.
Kyle, everyone loved, I was the guy who said I didn't like the Christian McCaffrey trade. I was wrong, okay? Literally everyone said, great trade. So now back off. You don't have to prove it. You gave him all those carries, touches, yards, touchdowns last year. Stop. Because the minute you get Christian McCaffrey hurt, then I can come back in and be like, well, this is why I didn't like the trade. Because he's a running back, and you can't keep your running backs healthy. So as long as you keep Christian, all you got to do is keep him healthy from here on out. For the next 2-3 years, you keep him healthy. It's one of the greatest trades in franchise history. The minute you get him hurt because you ran him 25 times in September, ooh, I'm back on you. I'm back on you, baby.
Yeah. And it's not only just the injury, but Mason to me is better than CMC at short goal line running back. I would rather have Mason. I really would. I know it sounds crazy. CMC is one of the best running backs.
The whole world knows you're running. I'd rather have Mason in the field too.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, he's just got the power.
No doubt. Yeah. Joseph Stockbridge got you. Joseph DeSoto says, just imagine Jordan Mason with a higher workload.
I want to see running back by committee again. Like, what happened to that? Like, they did that briefly a few years ago. What was it? I
should have asked Bobby Turner about that the other day. Like, dude, Bobby, we all love you, man, and you're the GOAT. But, like, why do you not rotate your running backs more? Or is it not you? Is it Kyle? If we get him again, he's the kind of guy where you could ask him that question in a respectful way, and he would answer it in a honest way. And I should, because it is a good question. Otherwise, I'm just asking, like, why are you so awesome? So, yeah, Bobby.
Yeah.
What's up with the rotation, man?
Yeah.
Come on.
Let's see it.
Good point. Let's see it. All right. All right. Fan base. How can a fan base be so divided at each other's throats, almost like, political discourse forums where you're talking like people who really dislike each other and wouldn't be friends with each other. Like, Niner fans usually are supposed to be friends. That's the whole point, right? You meet up before the game, you wear the jersey, and you say, bro, I like the Niners too, bro. And you're like, yeah. But no. Now you have to be like, well, what kind of Niner fan are you? Do you like Brock or do you like Trey? And if not, and it's like, then it's like, a rumble in the streets and people start singing. And it's like, anyway, why is that happening with this fan base? I mean, there's so much success.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You just that Warriors reference from the movie The
Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically that's what it is. West Side Story.
Yeah, West Side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. I think a lot of it is just online stuff. I think a lot of it's Twitter, a lot of it's YouTube comments. Because in real life, like these people, like when I'll say something on Twitter and people react like you POS, like just going crazy. If I was to say that same thing to a person in real life, that would not be the response I would get 99% of the time. Maybe they would disagree, but it's just that you're taking the humanity out of it when you're online. So I think a lot of it's that. And the other part is just we're still looking for a quarterback. And some people like what they saw from Brock. Some people liked what they saw from Jimmy. Some people want to see what Trey can do. I mean, Jesse had that poll on his Twitter. Jesse asked a question, if no context, if you had to cut one, who would you cut? Trey Lance or Brock Purdy? And I think like 1,800 people voted, something like that. And it was literally 50-50. It doesn't get any more divided than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kyle sort of set this up. And the way I look at it is the Niners are in this really unique situation where you're in year 7 with a coach and you don't have a quarterback. Like no other coach gets to do that. And Kyle's a celebrity coach who hasn't won a Super Bowl. How many other coaches in professional sports are famous without hardware to back it up?
Right.
Any and none. So he's in this class by himself where everyone believes in him. Everyone trusts him. Everyone thinks he's going to be a Super Bowl champion eventually. So no one criticizes him. So the fact that this quarterback drama is still going on in year 7 doesn't fall at his feet. People just pick sides. And half the people yell at one quarterback, half the people yell at the other quarterback, as if they're supposed to develop themselves, as if Kyle didn't pick them, as if Kyle didn't pit them against each other.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the collective fan base's reluctance or scared reluctance to hold Kyle accountable for freaking anything because they're afraid he's the best coach they can get. So they just, pick sides on these quarterbacks.
I mean, it's a result of this, what's the word I'm looking for? This, I was going to say administration. That's not the right word. What am I thinking? This, the Kyle Shanahan era.
Regime.
There we go. Regime was the word I was looking for. Thank you very much. It's a result of this regime's inability to lock in a quarterback position. I mean, think if we had like a franchise quarterback right now, what would we be talking about? What the hell would we be talking about right now if we had a franchise quarterback?
Free safety. Is Jair Brown going to start week 1? Right. Or is there going to be a special 3 safety package?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But no, that's not what we ever talk about with this team. And again, we were talking about Bill Walsh today. I made a video about Bill Walsh today.
It's
I
a good
think if
video.
Bill Walsh were alive and we asked him off the record or to give his candid opinion of the 49ers, I never met Bill Walsh. My dad knew him very well. I'm guessing something he might say fairly
I met him.
quickly. There you go. Would be maybe off the record. Good team. Where's the freaking quarterback?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's the freaking quarterback? And like the Niners are so proud of their roster or their defense. But the way a defense works, it's only as good as its weakest link. Let's say Travarius Ward misses a month and Ambry Thomas replaces him. Well, you got a huge problem now, and all the great players you have on your defense are kind of being wasted because Ambry Thomas is getting roasted left and right. So defenses are fickle. Quarterbacks are not. If you got an elite one, he's there. You can count on that if you can keep him upright, which the Niners can't do that either. So, yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of an unserious team. They talk about their roster left and like, where is your quarterback? It's year 7. How long is this search going to go on? I feel like we're on season 7 of a really entertaining show, but at the same time, the longer you get in, the more pointless it feels. It's like this is going to go on forever. Every season is kind of like the last season.
It's not the fan base's fault. I mean, really what this boils down to is the 49ers have been unable to find their quarterback, and therefore the fan base is fighting about quarterbacks. So it's really the fan base is divided because of the 49ers. They need to figure it out. And
on the one hand, you got guys that like, that love a Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy type. Like, you know what? No, he's not the best quarterback in the league, but he's better than what we've had in a long time, and we're winning, and I like winning better than losing, so let's go with it. And that's fair. Then you got other fans who are like, you know what? No, I don't care that we haven't had a franchise quarterback since 1999. I don't freaking care. That's what you need. I'm not settling for anything less than that, even though this is a good story, and that's fair. And what it comes down to is Kyle's presenting imperfect options for fans to choose from, and he won't choose from any either. So this is what you get.
Yeah.
A really, really pissed off fan base of a team that wins a lot, but doesn't win a championship.
It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's really not. Like, people are just picking who they want to pick based on what options we have in front of us. It's really the 49ers' fault for not having this position figured out. A lot of people say it's really hard to find a franchise quarterback, and that's true. But it's been 22 years. 22 years we've had 7 draft picks, or I think it's been 7 rounds for 22 years, but let's say 22 years, 7 rounds each draft, and we still have not figured it out. I mean, what's 7 times, what is that, 154 draft picks we've made, and we've been unable to find it? Like, it's a problem, man. And it's the most frustrating thing in this fan base. It's reasons why we fight, and it's what makes things frustrating. I would love to sacrifice views on my YouTube channel and not have to talk about quarterbacks. I would take that L. I don't know if you would, because I'm a fan, but I would take that loss of views and not have to talk about quarterbacks during the offseason. That's all I want.
Well, one thing I've been thinking about is, the fan base is divided, and like, I can further that wedge any day. I can do it. And a lot of us do. And I think one thing we could think about is not doing that, because Brock didn't do anything wrong. Trey didn't do anything wrong. It's sort of a meta conversation. Pitting them against each other isn't really fair to them or the team or the fan base. And so maybe there are ways to bring people together. And I was trying to think about it today. Like, what would Bill Walsh think of these quarterbacks? I think he'd like both of them. I think he'd want both of them on his team. I think you can see a little bit of a very poor man's Joe in Brock. You can see a little bit of a very poor man's Steve in Trey. And you look at what Bill did. He had the real Joe. 2 Super Bowls, traded for Steve anyway. Like, that guy was never settling. So if he had the real Brock, he'd love him and see all of his great qualities, and he'd still have his eyes open for the next quarterback, and he'd still want to coach Trey Lance. I don't know that he would have traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance, but if Lance was on his team, he would have coached him up.
I feel like he would have drafted someone better than Brock and Trey if he was here.
I don't think he would have shied away from Justin Fields.
He would have been
all shied away from Justin Fields. He would have been all over Justin Fields.
He wouldn't have let Patrick Mahomes slide by.
No.
He would have he would have caught that.
He wouldn't have wasted his time with CJ Beathard.
Yeah, so he may like him if they were given to him. Like, he would have been like, yeah, these guys have good things about them.
Yeah, I can coach him.
Yeah,
but I'm not done looking.
Right, he's not done
looking.
I'm
not done looking.
And if he was bringing quarterbacks in, he probably wouldn't have brought either one of them in, if we're being real.
I don't see a world where Bill Walsh would have traded 3 first-round picks for a quarterback who played Division I, AA, whatever. He wouldn't have done it. He never made that big of an investment in a quarterback ever. He drafted Joe in round 3. He traded a 2nd and a 4th for Steve. Those were the investments he made. He would have been the guy looking at Trey Lance now, being like, ooh, I'll trade for Trey. Let me call up the Niners. I'll give you a second. I'll give you a fourth. Now he would have gotten Trey. Not the way the Niners did it.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's crazy is the year before, I believe, 49ers were at 14th, and Justin Herbert went at 6 overall, I think, or 7th overall. That was the year. That's the year you trade up. Go get Justin Herbert. The year before in 2020, instead of drafting Kinlaw, you draft Herbert. You make that trade then.
Correct.
See, that seems like something Bill Walsh would have done more than – and he's not a trade up to go get a guy anyways type of guy, but – if you're going to make that trade, that was your opportunity. Or Patrick Mahomes when you were all in on Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins. Those were the opportunities. That's where the failure occurred. Bill Walsh may have liked Trey Lance, may have liked Brock Purdy, but he probably wouldn't have brought either one of them here in the first place. He probably would have.
So let me leave this fans with this before we leave. We all need to agree on this. It's why Flav in particular, I keep calling him out by name, really bugs me, because all of his animosity is 100% directed towards Trey. And I feel like Trey is not the bad guy. Brock is not the bad guy. Jimmy was not the bad guy. We got to stop with that. Yeah. If there is a bad guy here, it's Kyle. It's Kyle. If there is one. He's responsible for all of this. Both these quarterbacks are so young. He's the coach. He's supposed to be in charge. He's supposed to be nurturing them and pointing them in the right direction for their careers, and he doesn't do that. So it's him. We need to focus on him.
And it's okay to say Kyle Shanahan is good at this, but he's not good at that, right? Kyle Shanahan is a very good play designer. He schemes guys wide open. He's really good with the run game. All those things are true, but he's also not good at finding the damn quarterback. That's also true. It's okay to say both.
Here's what Kyle's really good at. His run game's great, but he's not responsible for the run game. That's Bobby Turner and Chris Forster. His play-action pass game off of the run game, people talk about, like the play-action passes look just like the runs. He does a good job of marrying them so you can't really decipher on the field what's what. Shanahan's been doing that for a long time. They're good at that. But when you get past that and you get to the drop-back passing game, rudimentary. No one's scared of it. It's not something they even really spend that much time on, which is great because, I mean, they're always winning. They have a great defense. They don't have to play that way, but eventually you do. Eventually you do.
I mean, it's a weakness. So it's okay to point out that weakness. And it's when you have a weakness as a football team, as a coach, you need to work on that weakness to correct it. But the drop back passing game for the 49ers is almost non-existent.
It's an afterthought. It's an afterthought. Yeah. From the design to the quarterback to the pass protection, it's all an afterthought.
Yeah.
As if they're just going to take a lead and just sit on teams for every game. Like, it's not that easy. Yeah. You don't win Super Bowls like the 1972 Dolphins. You just can't do that anymore. At a certain point, you're going to have to score 35 points, 40 points against Mahomes. You're going to have to be in a fourth quarter where he scored a touchdown in a minute and 15 seconds. Now it's your turn. Can you score in a minute and 15? No? Okay, you lost. Yeah. Sorry. And it's not just Mahomes. It's Allen too. It's Burrow too.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I want to keep. That's why I want to see Trey, because maybe he can, maybe he can't.
But we need to know.
I need to know that too. We need to know if he can't. Also, it's not just we need to know if he can. We need to know if he can't, because we got to move on and find that guy.
Right. And like Brock could improve. I'm not saying he can't, but if he improves, it's going to be incrementally in places he's already good at. Like, he'll read defenses a little bit better. He'll be a little more accurate. Like, is he ever going to have a stronger arm that pushes the ball 40, 45 yards down the side? No. He can't improve in that, especially after this injury. So there's a cap. There's a cap for every player, but that's why some people say, like, yeah, I mean, I'm open-minded. He can improve, but I just don't see how this one thing can really improve. And if it doesn't, that's a limitation. As Bill Walsh said, there have been Hall of Fame quarterbacks without the full inventory of throws, but not many. Not recently.
And not a lot recently.
Not a lot recently.
Yeah.
So he wrote that in 1997. MGM Production says Jimmy's pressure to sack rate, 18.8. Brock, 17.2. Sure, Brock may appear more mobile, but the stats show he gets sacked at nearly the same rate. Thoughts? As one content creator would put it, facts over feelings. Facts over feelings. It's good to know. I think what you see with Jimmy is that he gets rid of the ball quicker than Brock. What Brock does is he maybe avoids pressure better than Jimmy, but he also holds the ball longer than Jimmy. And when you do stuff like that and you spin out of the back of you create sacks. You create pressure. A lot of times he was scrambling without pressure because That's who he is. When people compare him to Drew Brees, dude, Drew Brees was the quickest decision maker ever.
Extremely accurate.
But in terms of just getting the ball and getting out of his hands, I don't know that anyone did it faster than him. I mean, I don't even think Peyton did it faster than Brees. Like, that is not Brock. Brock wants to hold the ball. He wants to extend the play. He's much more Russell Wilson without the deep ball than Drew Brees.
And I tweeted it out this morning. When it comes to who is going to be accurate on the first read, get the ball out quick, Jimmy is the best that we've seen at that. A short pass, get the ball out quick, and be accurate with it. That's Jimmy Garoppolo, man. He's the best at it. He's better than Trey. He's better than Brock Purdy, if we're being honest. The problem is everything else. That's the problem.
Do you see Cameron Jordan talking about Kirk Cousins? Talking about making quick decisions. He's like talking about, he was at a pass rushing summit. He's like, a lot of you guys are focused on this and this technique. And what he's like, man, you guys are thinking too much. You know, if you make slow, right decisions, you're benched. You know what we call slow, good decisions? Kirk Cousins.
He said that?
He said that. And I was like, man, that is so true. Jimmy Garoppolo made a lot of quick, bad decisions. Kyle Shanahan, to me, makes, when the pressure's on, he makes slow, bad decisions. He's paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not Jimmy's decision-making that I liked. It was the best thing that Jimmy was good at. If the first read was open, the play call that was designed, Jimmy, the ball,
no hesitation.
Boom, he's got it out, and it's
quick.
It's on the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you have to talk like second, third read, decision-making, anything else, that's why he was Jimmy Garoppolo. How
about, Walsh said how important mobility is in escaping pressure?
Yeah. Nah.
He didn't want Brady because, look, as great as Brady is, Brady couldn't have made the throw that Montana made to Clark in the back of the end zone. That never happens with Brady. He can't get out there.
That's true.
And you saw what Walsh said. He said mobility is critical. Brady didn't have it.
And that's kind of ahead of time because back in the 90s, that mobility wasn't that big. It wasn't that prevalent. So Joe Montana was kind of ahead of his time with that take.
Well, Walsh, absolutely. I mean, I think back then people were thinking you want 6'4", 6'5" strong arm. What he was thinking is it's about your feet. It's about how quick you are. And who did he compare it to? Sugar Ray Leonard. And his point was, there are a lot of really good fighters in the 80s. Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns. They hit harder than Sugar Ray Leonard. What made Leonard? Why was he the best champion of the 80s in the welterweight division? He was quicker than them. Yeah. He was flat out quicker than them. And so was Joe. Joe's feet were super quick. Brock's feet are super quick. I think Bill would like Brock. But at the same time, Joe wasn't good enough for him. He's like, Joe, you're 30. Yeah, we're going to need to bring in Steve. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. He would like Brock. He'd make the most out of Brock. He wouldn't settle for Brock, though.
No.
He would be looking
all
the time.
He would never settle he would never
for anybody.
Settle. Yeah. Never. And that's, again, like when people are saying, hey, we can win with Brock. He's a winner. It's like, the search is over. Like, no, the search is never over. We don't even know how good he is or if he can stay healthy for more than 8 games at a time.
Winning is a team stat. Like, people need to really understand that. Of course, a quarterback can help you win or lose. But like, it's like people say it about Herbert. Oh, Herbert, he lost. Like, he's on the Chargers. It's not the 49ers. It's a different thing. You need to put every quarterback that you're talking about, put them on this roster. Right. A lot of them are going to freaking win, but some can go beyond the offense that's schemed up for you and actually do the winning for you. Put the team on their back.
The Rams figured that out when they traded for Stafford. That guy done a lot of losing in Detroit because that franchise is poverty. And it's obvious. So you bring him in and put him in a good franchise, and all of a sudden you win a Super Bowl. Like, you got to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think the opposite is true for Purdy. Like, if you just put Purdy on a team like Cleveland that sucks and has no direction, is he just gonna elevate it? Like, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Russ Button says Niners can't keep a quarterback healthy through a whole season. Both Purdy and Lance will see plenty of playing time. Lance will not be traded. Agree. Russ, thank you. Spitting. Truth.
That button up.
Nathan says, Grant, does your Monday show always start at 11 a.m.? Yeah, unless the Niners play like a night game on the East Coast and it takes me too long the next day to come back. Yes.
Yeah.
King Q says, shout out to Grant for calling it how it is from day one. They say you're worst. They say you're the worst, but to real Niner fans, we look for your quality control. And the real, you called out Debo last year and Kyle Shanahan for a bad line. Thank you. Thank you, man. I feel like we got enough content creators saying the Niners are the smartest people of all time. And it's like, okay, sure. Not all the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time. Shreddy Murphy says, how you miss on Rodgers in 05?
Was it 05? Yeah, it was 05.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Crazy. He's a Cal guy, local guy, California guy. He wanted to be a Niner. He was a Niner fan. I don't know, man. That's
I
one of
will
the
say though, the two quarterbacks that the Yorks have drafted in the top 3, Alex Smith, Trey Lance, those are the two, right?
nice guys.
Nice guys. And when you draft a quarterback that high, it's an organizational decision. You got to get the owners on board. And I could see the Yorks loving Alex Smith. I know they loved Alex Smith. Loving Trey Lance because they can work with that guy. Aaron Rodgers is a jerk. Mac Jones is super sensitive and also a little rough around the edges. I could see the Yorks being like, no on Rodgers. For whatever trivial reason. No on Mac. We want that. If everything's the same, guys, we like this guy better.
Well, I mean, think about Brady.
They also like Solomon Thomas, who's kind of like that.
Think about Brady and Montana and Young. It's not that they were bad guys, but they weren't they're not like I'm a nice guy. That's
driven.
not who they are.
Not people pleasers, man. They will chew you out.
You need that edge.
You need that dog in you.
Yeah, yeah, man.
I don't know if Trey has it.
I don't know.
Not sure. Yep. Mo says Walsh traded up for Jerry Rice from this FCS. That's true, but that's a different position. And Rice was prolific in the FCS. Prolific. Yeah. Lamonte757 says, how do people give the same excuse? How do people give Sam the excuse he learned in the offense, but what about the fact Trey Lance is as good as Sam with way less starts? If I were Trey, I would see this as a win. 50 more starts than Trey, bro. Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree.
I thought it was interesting. Like, no one really has anything super nice to say about Sam right now at the Niners. They're like, yeah. I asked George, what do you think of Sam? He's like, well, he looked 8 directions before
he did that. He took a deep sigh. He said,
yeah, he's learning the offense. And the Peter principle applies to Kyle Shanahan. He's just an OC. Yeah, the Peter principle is that where like you get promoted beyond you keep getting promoted because you're good at something, and then eventually you get promoted to something you're not good at. I think
this is new to me. I've never heard of the Peter principle.
I think that's what it is. I'll look it up. Timothy Glander says, why is it that QBs can't improve arm strength?
They can a little bit, but I mean, you just have it or you don't in general. You can see like incremental.
I mean, he's gone through puberty at this point. Like, what else is he going to do?
Yeah.
Unless he's like totally mechanically off and he's like losing a lot of power that he could somehow
just completely.
But he's not. I think he's actually sort of pretty good mechanically.
Yeah.
So what he could do is just like crow hop into his throws like an outfielder, but you usually don't have that kind of space and time.
I mean, it's like, why is it that QBs can't improve their arm strength? I mean, I can go out there and throw a baseball right now. There's nothing I can really do to get myself up to 90 miles an hour right now.
Ever in your whole life, it's not going to happen to you for you.
Yeah.
And here's why coaches a lot of times in these pro days will tell a quarterback to get on his knees and throw as far as he can from his knees, because the whole idea is take momentum out of it. Of course, people that's why outfielders run into their throws and crow hop, because you can, and it gives you more distance and arm strength, and velocity. But if you can't do that in the pocket, a lot of the throws, the most important throws you make are off your back foot with pressure in your face. So what kind of power can you get just from flicking your hips and flicking your wrist and with your arm off your back foot? What can you do? That's arm strength. And that's not Brock.
Yeah.
It's not Brock.
It's not going to be natural for him. I mean, Justin Herbert,
he could do that.
Through this 65 yards, running, getting tackled on a line. Like, there's nothing that Brock's going to be able to do to become that kind of passion.
And if you have a quarterback like that, Bill Walsh said, it's important to know quarterback's limitations so you know how to tailor the offense to him. Like,
that was key.
You can do whatever you want with Justin Herbert. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to minimize. Like, whatever works that week to beat that team.
And that line from Bill Walsh, because I watched your video this morning, really good video, great words from Bill Walsh. But that line, what he's talking about is, if he doesn't have the full inventory of throws, then that's going to dictate what kind of offense you can run, and that is the limitation. Like, you cannot do everything, therefore it's a limitation.
And Bill made it work with Joe. He was still looking around.
Yeah,
you think if Bill could have traded Joe for John Elway, he wouldn't have done it? He might have done it. From Bill's perspective, he's like, man, if I could win with Joe and his limitations, what if I had a guy with no limitations? Why am I looking at Steve in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, there are things that, there's some things you can't scout, like the intangibles. And I think Brock has a lot of that stuff. So, I get it. And I don't want to beat up on Brock, man. He's done a
No.
really good job for his
Nope.
rookie season, man. He really has. It's just there
Yeah.
are limitations within his game.
And again, I keep wanting to come back to, I think Bill would really like Brock. I think he would really like Brock. I just also feel like he wouldn't give up on Trey. He wouldn't commit himself to Brock. He would like Brock. He would see all the good in Brock, and he might even want to start him, but I think he would want to coach Trey, and I think he would get results. He wouldn't be like, oh, man, hey, Trey, go work with Jeff Christensen and then get back to me. He'd be like, work with me, okay? Yeah. Work with me.
You know what else he wouldn't even do is run
what?
QB powers up the middle on 3rd and 12. That's another thing he would not do.
He wouldn't have any – he would actually develop him as a quarterback. His development wouldn't be, hey, play running back half the time. That's what we're going to do. And if you can't, you freaking suck.
Yeah.
Which is what Kyle did with RG3.
Yeah.
Ink Talk TV says I made it to a live. Ohio Niner gang.
Welcome.
Ohio. Shout out to the state of Ohio in general. Papa Phil says the fan base is divided because younger fans don't remember the glory days and racism is real. Never ending the Colin Kaepernick conversation. We got to talk about that. I think part of the fact is that Colin Kaepernick, the way it ended, a lot of fans were really turned off. And I think they, whether they know it or not, something about Trey brings up feelings from the past, even though they're different people.
You see the same criticisms that Colin Kaepernick got about Trey Lance, and they're like
totally different people.
Totally different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like they talk about him like he has mechanics. Like Colin Kaepernick, he never had mechanics as bad as Colin Kaepernick had.
Right.
Colin Kaepernick had bad mechanics, right? They say he's like a 1 or 2 read quarterback. Colin Kaepernick was more guilty of that. Trey Lance is not. I haven't seen that from Trey Lance. I see him scanning the field. So the base, like, where does this come from? He's not Colin Kaepernick. Like, why are you saying these things? It seems like you think he's Colin Kaepernick. I don't like how the 49ers handled that whole situation with Colin Kaepernick, and I don't like how some of the fans treated him. I understand the anger because of what happened. I get it, but I mean, it's just a.
But doesn't it feel like Trey's sort of being
he's
punished
getting some of
for
that.
the way certain Niner fans feel about what happened 7 years ago?
Residuals.
I mean, how old was Trey Lance when that would happen? Like, was he even in high school?
12. Yeah.
Ink Talk TV says this situation like the Niners going all out to marry Trey, then falling in love with the below average side chick. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yes. Don't go chasing waterfall.
True,
what part of Ohio? I lived in Cincinnati for like a year.
You lived in Cincinnati for a year?
Yeah.
I was in Cincinnati in 2021 when they played the Bengals, and I had that chili. I hated it.
Skyline chili. Yeah, they put chili on top of spaghetti noodles.
My mom, may she rest in peace, would never allow me to have spaghetti with chili on it. I'm sorry. She's Italian. I'm half Italian. No way. So that's why they put it on spaghetti. Disgusting. Or they put it on hot dogs. So I was like, okay, I'll try that. Chili dog. That sounds fun. First of all, the little hot dogs they give you are the nastiest hot dogs you've ever had.
Conies.
Why do they have to have my name?
And they're sour. They're a little sour.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, they're a little sour.
And then the chili is like runny and bland. And people are like, this is the best chili in the world. Like, dog. What?
Yeah.
Sorry. But I actually like Cincinnati. They have like this one little neighborhood called Over the Rhine, I want to say. That's kind of like
the hood. That's
new and cool. It's tight. I liked it. Daryl Smock says, good morning, Grant and Rayon. Just want to say thank you guys are the best. Jesse Naylor too. Nah, I don't vouch for Jesse. All right. Week 1. Who do you think the Steelers would rather face? Brock Purdy, coming off essentially no offseason, with the tape they have on him, or Trey Lance coming off essentially no football the last 3 years and the little tape they have on him?
I mean, I took this poll on Twitter, and 59% of 49er fans said they would rather face Brock. So here's the thing. They have tape on Brock. We know what Brock, so far, we know what he's good at. We know maybe some areas of weakness, things he needs to improve. He's coming off a UCL injury. I think if I'm a defensive coordinator for the Steelers, I'd rather face Brock because you kind of know what's coming. With Trey Lance, you really don't know. And plus, he opens the field up as far as a runner, as far as the deep passing game. The question with Trey Lance is really those And what Brock was really good at is those intermediate throws.
Mhm.
Trey Lance can get those intermediate, like people talk about his like easy ones. He really was not that bad on those easy throws. He was at like 67.5. Brock was at like 71, I think. So he wasn't as good as Brock at those easy ones, but he wasn't like awful. Where he struggled and where Brock was way better than Trey Lance was the 10 to 20 range. Trey is better over 20, but between 10 and 20 yards, Brock was eating it up. I think he had one of the best. He was like 80% in that range or something crazy like that. So that's where Brock is really good. That's where Trey struggles. But outside of that, if Trey can get that down, and then he also gives you the deep, and he also gives you the run threat, and there's the unknown factor, I think I'd rather go up against Brock if I'm Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, you have tape on him. You have a feel for his tendencies. He has no offseason, so you think maybe he's rusty. Maybe he's not super confident yet. I mean, if you got to face Brock, now's a good time, especially if no preseason. So you kind of know what's coming. The Niners haven't been able to install a bunch of new stuff for him because he hasn't been around. The offense should be very similar to what it was last year down the stretch. You should feel pretty confident in your game plan. With Brock, I feel like from Mike Tomlin's perspective or Terrell Austin, the D coordinator over there, it might be a little anxiety provoking to create a defensive game plan for Trey because you've never seen him play with McCaffrey. Like, you don't know what they're planning. He's been there all offseason. They could have installed all kind of stuff that wasn't there last year, and you're guessing that they didn't show in preseason. So that's scary. I mean, the one thing you could say is, well, forget all that. I know the Niners players deep down don't believe in Trey. So I want Trey on the field because they won't be as confident. And that's all I care about. Like, yeah, we'll be in the dark and it'll be a mystery, but I'm a good coach. I'll see it. Now, we'll adjust mid-game. They won't adjust, but they deep down don't believe in themselves with Trey on the field, and the freaking Bears beat them last year. So I want that Niners team, the one that lacks confidence. That's the only thing.
I can see teams sticking either way.
I mean, they don't even pick him up when he gets sacked. I want that guy on the field for whatever reason.
I mean, the thing is that with Brock, you know what's going to happen. It's short slants over the middle or dump offs on the outside, right? That's what's going to happen. It's so predictable. With Trey, you don't really know. So he could be. Are they going to run him like they did last year? Who knows? Maybe they're not going to. Is he going to continue to look downfield? Or
do you prepare for the zone read week of the game?
Yeah.
If you do and they don't do it, you wasted your time. If you don't and they do, you lose.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah. That advantage.
Also, what if you don't know which quarterback's going to start week 1? Do you prepare for both?
And that's Kyle's going to milk that to the last second as well. But he should. But also, what if they just run Brock Purdy's offense with Trey? They won't be expecting that either, right? They're going to think, hey, if the Trey Lance is coming out, they're going to be doing this and this and this. What if they just run the Brock Purdy offense with Trey?
Well, Chris Forrester did say when he was speaking during OTAs, like he said, we haven't installed quarterback runs. It doesn't mean they won't, but until I see them install some quarterback runs, they're not running the Trey Lance offense anymore. It's him and the Brock Purdy offense, which is what you wanted.
That's what I want.
What you wanted.
Yeah.
Yep. I would like to see Trey Lance hand off more. I feel like they're averaging 6 yards a carry in his career when he hands the ball off. Like, why don't you just start there? Yeah. Start there. Why does he have to run? He's good at handing off. Jimmy was good at handing off.
Let him do what Brock and Jimmy did, and then also be able to take some deep shots on occasion. Keep the defense
Another thing Trey does really well that I feel like people don't give him credit for, or it's small, but since we're giving Brock credit for the small things, his play fakes. Trey has really good play fakes. He really sells them.
Yeah.
Extends it, brings it into his... It's good. Watch Sam. Lackadaisical. Darnold, do it better. They're important. Yeah. Little details. All right. The situations like the Niners. Oh, we got you. Daryl Smock. Got you. Michael Hamilton. Post the imaginary film clips of Trey balling, please. Damn, Michael. I will. For you. Daryl Smock says, sorry for the misspelling of your name, Ryan. How do you guys feel about Kruger always talking about trading Trey Lance? I don't think they should give him his chance to start. I don't like it. I think they should give him his chance to start. I think Larry just said he thought they would. They haven't yet. Lance might want it. Don't know, but I think it's pretty clear the Niners aren't moving any quarterbacks until Brock's healthy and they see what he's got.
Trey's not getting traded before week 1 unless he absolutely demands it.
Yeah. Which clearly he hasn't. Otherwise, we would have heard. The 49ers father / daddy says, ever seen a franchise invest so much to acquire a potential franchise quarterback like Lance just to invest and support so little into the quarterback once acquired?
No.
No, it's unprecedented, and that's why some people think, man, Trey must suck, or other people think, man, Trey's getting screwed. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
It's one of the two. All right, moving on. I said this quarterback competition is a sham, and I think it is in a way. I don't think there's actually a way that you can have a fair competition. To have a fair competition, you would have to have the same players around, like the same offensive line on the field, the same weapons, the same defensive players, the same plays and the same coverages every single time. And everyone would have to be as tired. You're like, it's impossible to have a 50-50, but they're trying. And they're trying for a reason. I think they actually want it. They think this could have a positive benefit, if only for what it represents. What do you think?
So I think this is gonna bug you later too. Look at it. It says the competition reel.
Oh no!
I know it's gonna bug you, so I'm gonna catch it for you.
Thank you.
But yeah, so here's the thing. I think there's a part of me that wants. Here's what I want to believe. I want to believe that Kyle Shanahan's playing a little 3D chess here, or 4D chess. I don't. Is it 3D chess, or what's the expression? 4D chess.
I think it's 4D.
5D chess.
Yeah, something like that.
So we all know what happened when Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance had to compete, and how the team was not behind Trey Lance because they felt like the next year they just kind of gave it to Trey Lance. There was no competition. I'm wondering if Kyle Shanahan is being smart here, because when they brought in Sam Darnold, I looked at him as an insurance policy. I don't look at him as anything else. I still don't to this day. I'm wondering if Kyle Shanahan is playing this. Let's bring in Sam Darnold. Let's let Trey compete in front of his team and earn this spot. I think Kyle Shanahan wants Trey Lance to beat out Sam Darnold. I would be surprised if that's not the case, if he just does not care at all. I think he wants Trey Lance to beat out Sam Darnold, and I think he thinks that's what's going to happen, and he probably thinks that this is the best thing for the locker room, because if he goes out and earns it and beats him in a competition, that shows his teammates that he's the guy, and it also shows Trey, gives him confidence to believe in himself. So I'm wondering if Kyle's doing this.
That's possible. See, to me, I think it's less about what the team wants and more about Trey's confidence. Mm-hmm. Like what George said last week was he's so much better than last year, and it's a lot about his confidence. You can see he's confident now, which implies he was not confident last year, and we could feel it. And I think that's a big thing. Like, forget about me judging how he throws and slowing down his mechanics. Like, I'm in the huddle. He's not confident. We all feel it. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. That's it. So if it takes a quarterback competition with Sam Darnold for Trey to feel confident again and feel like the pressure's off and to feel like, oh, okay, I am better than him, I can show it, then great. But I don't think it's necessarily about showing the team like, hey, we're not anointing him. I think it's about showing the team he believes in himself. And it seems like that's what Kittle is saying more about Trey than about Sam. Because to me, Sam is, a walking insecurity as a quarterback. Like he displays no confidence.
Yeah.
Maybe for good reason.
I think it's about both, but I see what your point is. I mean, the main thing is that Trey's confident, because if he's confident, nothing else matters, whether people around him are or not. That's the main thing. But like, I really feel like there's a part of it where the Cabo clique has to be on board with Trey Lance, right? Yeah. And this gives him an opportunity to earn that respect. Like, he's out here being Sam Darnold. You know what I'm saying?
True.
I think Kyle could be smart enough to, obviously he bought in Sam Darnold. It's like, hey, maybe he does. Maybe he is better than Trey Lance. Who knows? But I don't really think he thinks that that's what's going to happen. And I don't think he wants that to happen, because if that happens, then how does that make Kyle Shanahan look? If the guy you traded 3 firsts for lost to Sam freaking Darnold, that's confirming that you made a mistake with Trey Lance.
Yeah. And it's possible when they're in Cabo, they're talking like, what are we going to do while Brock's out? And Kyle's like, we're good. We got Trey. And everyone's like, that guy has no confidence. And McCaffrey's like, hey, what about Sam? I played with him. And Kyle's like, okay, we can bring in Sam. Fine. So have it your way. Bring in the guy who also has no confidence. And when my guy beats him out, then you guys can't complain anymore. Fair? Is that okay? But the question is, does this quarterback competition help Trey's confidence or hurt it? Maybe it helps it.
If he loses it, he's done.
Done.
But I don't see that happening. If he wins it, it should definitely help him. You know, he's another third overall pick from USC, big school, right? You came in. He's been here 6 years. This is your third off season. You beat him. It's got to help his confidence. It's got to.
Like you could say, like they tried last year to call him the starter, put your arms around him, tell the vets support him. It didn't necessarily lead to a confident quarterback,
right?
According to Kittle. So now try something else. Take the pressure off. Don't say he's a starter. Say you're competing. Say you're competing with the known stiff, and see if that brings out the confident side in Trey Lance. And apparently, according to Kittle, it has. Maybe Lance is the kind of guy who needs someone to say, I don't believe in you more than I do believe in you, because now he can prove you wrong.
And here's the thing, though, too. It's like a lot of people like don't take into consideration that Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance talk often. It's not like they never see each other, right? So Kyle Shanahan could be telling Trey, like, dude, I fully expect you to beat this guy, but you got to go out and do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and when you do it, then now you've earned your spot in front of everybody. I believe in you. Go do it.
Yeah. I tried to install you last year this way. It didn't work. We're going to do it a different way this year.
Right.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. He's smart enough to figure that out. Okay. Last topic. This was a big topic among Niners content creators all all weekend. I chimed in yesterday. Are Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy the same guy? I feel like they have one or two clear differences, but many similarities. When the ball leaves their hand, I think pretty much is very similar. But before the ball leaves their hand, there are some key differences.
I think, I'll give you the pluses for Jimmy first. What Jimmy's better at than Brock, there's only like two things. He's more accurate.
Passing.
He's a more accurate pocket passer than Brock Purdy. Not that Brock Purdy's completely inaccurate, but Jimmy's right on the money. If the first read is open and it's a quick short pass, he's very accurate there.
He has more zip on his throws. He has a stronger arm. He has touch too.
Right.
He's a better pocket passer than Brock.
So that I'll give to Jimmy. But everything else, Brock Purdy's better at to me.
Yep.
Okay? Everything else.
Everything.
Jimmy has a better arm than Brock, but Brock actually looks downfield more than Jimmy. You know.
Yeah, he's more daring.
Wants to push it downfield, even though his arm's not as strong as Jimmy's was. Jimmy is the true dink and dunker by any definition, no matter whose definition you're using.
And it got worse as time went on.
Yes. And then he's a statue in the pocket.
Correct.
Completely different. To me, Brock, and what was weird about the video, and I like that video, I thought it was very informative, but the one thing that was strange to me is he said Jimmy sees the field better than Brock in that video, which I completely disagree with. I'm not sure about that. I think Brock sees the field better than Jimmy. To me, he knows where guys are going to be before they get there when he's scrambling around. I see that in Brock. He's a playmaker to me. And to me, he's way better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Now, in the video, he did show Jimmy like getting to the third read in his progression on the backside of the play from the pocket, which I don't know that Brock could do that, to Alex Rollins' point. Great video. Brock is more scramble out of the pocket, take a look around, calm down. Oh, George Kittle's running a route that we didn't even draw up. Oh, okay, I got him. Like,
and he sees it.
I don't think Jimmy has it in him because he just panics after 2.5 seconds.
Right.
If he has the ball in his hands after 2.5 seconds, he's like, I'm getting hit. Where's it coming from? I'm going to get hurt. What's going on? Like,
right.
Maybe Purdy will feel like that eventually, because that's the thing about playing quarterback. You can be real daring, but once you've had a surgery or two, are you going into survival mode? Jimmy did. A lot of quarterbacks do. We'll see about Brock.
And I am concerned that they make him more Jimmy-esque, like try to ring it back a little, dial it back, like play within the offense, stay in the pocket. Like,
what was the last thing Bill Walsh said in his essay? He said, above all else, the most important thing for a quarterback, it's nothing a coach can prepare him for or teach, is what he called spontaneous greatness. And the concept is, you can choreograph everything. You can set him up for all the success, but eventually at some point in the season, maybe in the Super Bowl, it's going to be tight, 5 minutes left, up a couple, down a couple, and the play's not going to work. It's going to be a little off. It's going to be a little bit of chaos. Is your guy going to make the right decision on the fly? Joe Montana did when Freddie Solomon fell, and
Jimmy did not have that.
He didn't have that.
No.
And Brock showed some of that last
Some of
year.
it.
And so what did Brian Greasy and Kyle Shanahan say the coaching point for Brock was this offseason? Do that
Get rid of
less.
that.
Less spontaneous genius, more robotic pocket passing. They don't get it. I'm sorry. They don't get it.
Yeah, that's one thing that worries me. And the offense does look similar. Like if you look at it's short over the middle passing game, right?
Mhm.
And Jimmy Garoppolo was 31st in deep shots. 31st.
Correct.
Like the worst.
Not
The
good.
dink and dunk king. Brock Purdy was 18th,
Mhm.
which is better.
Better.
But is it that much more dynamic to where it's
No.
going to change everything? It's not
No.
really. It's
And this is with defenses daring you to throw deep. It's not like they're being like, oh my God, like this Brock Purdy's got an arm. We got to play too deep, play off, and just hope and pray he checks down. Like that is
It's the
not
same
how
defense.
people play Brock.
same defense.
In fact, they're playing 8 in the box more with Brock than they do with Jimmy because Brock's arm is weaker. You can say whatever you want about his desire, his intent, his courage, his spontaneity. His arm is weaker. And that was before he tore it, the UCL. So we'll see.
Yeah. So they have similarities. I'll take Brock all day long over Jimmy.
I'll take Brock all day long over
Yeah.
Jimmy because I do think that forget the age and the price. Forget all that. Mobility is critical to Bill Walsh's point. The ability to evade a pass rush is critical. And that's, to me, why Jimmy is hurt all the time because he can't do it. He can't do it. And he knows it.
Yeah, and he was
That's
actually, before his ACL injury, he was out okay at it. Okay.
Now he's
But
no
wasn't
good.
Brock Purdy. Wasn't Brock
He was
Purdy.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like so Brock isn't what I would call mobile. I don't think he's going to be running for 200-300 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns in a year. He's too small. He's not fast. He'll get lit up, but he can get away. He can extend the play. It's nice. Lance theoretically can do that plus. But Lance, everything with him is theoretical until they get him on the field for like more than a game.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Nathan, Jimmy and Brock were good at the dank and the dunk, but how's Darnold? His deep ball accuracy isn't the best. Is Trey with the deep ball? Trey is nice with the deep ball. I don't know what Darnold is good at. I'm not sure that he's proven he's good at anything.
I don't. Can I ask you
the
something?
dank.
Can I ask you something about Darnold? Because I wasn't there. I'm just watching your videos and other videos. In the warm-ups, one thing I think is correct me on the two things. Correct me if I'm wrong. In the warm-ups, Trey Lance was always first in the warm-ups. Every single OTAs, every single minicamp. Right? He led the warm-up.
I believe so.
So I think that's important to note because it does say something as far as like who's leading right now. Or who understands what they're supposed to be doing, maybe. But here's what I want to ask you is when I'm watching Trey Lance throw the ball and I'm watching Sam Darnold throw the ball, I don't see this, and I love Matt Mayoka, but I don't see this greatest thrower of the football thing. Did you see anything resembling the greatest throw of the football?
No, I mean, Darnold was 9 of 18 in 11 on 11s. In minicamp, 9 of 18 with 2 drops. So that would be 11 of 18. Like that's not.
I mean, even in warm-ups, when you're just throwing the ball.
I mean, he's okay. I mean, I guess he has a quicker release, than Trey Lance. He might have the ability to throw the ball from more platforms, but like none of that theoretical ability translates to anything on the field for Sam Darnold. He still hesitates. He still makes bad decisions.
Was his deep ball hanging?
Yes.
Like
he doesn't throw an accurate deep ball. Like whether or not he has the physical arm strength to put it out there, he's not accurate with it.
Yeah,
I don't think he has confidence with it.
Yeah.
So I don't really see it with Sam yet. And I don't think that's why people are talking about Brandon Allen because they don't see it with Sam. Do you think Jimmy's contract had an NDA take Kyle's BS clause? I think that's why they paid him so much. No, but I think it's understood, man. If you're getting paid $27 million a year, like just, I don't know.
Until you're on your way out.
Other quarterbacks might tell Kyle, shut up. We don't know what Jimmy said behind closed doors. He said on the field your plays freaking suck, man. So we don't know.
Yeah.
We also know that Jimmy didn't answer his phone calls or return his texts. So maybe his attitude was leave me the hell alone.
I'm done with you.
I'm done with you.
See you next year.
That's the show. Thanks for watching. What you got going on the rest of the day?
Nothing today, man. I got shows Tuesday and Friday and Sunday. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. It'd be much appreciated.
Yeah. Subscribe to Ryan's channel and mine as well if you haven't. Thanks for watching. I'll be back at 3 o'clock. See you guys.